Welcome in, Peanuts. Welcome in, Cracker Jacks. To leading off right here on Fantasy Pros, I am Chris Welsh, and joining me for the first time on the podcast is Andrew Seifter, who you can hear on Fantasy Pros. Got some podcast action going on. Andrew, what's up, buddy? We met for the first time like 30 minutes ago, and we're getting to a podcast together.
We're old buddies at this point, Chris, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Andrew, why don't you let everybody know about what you got going on, articles and podcasts?
Yeah, so I've been writing the waiver wire article over at Fantasy Pros all season. I have actually taken a little break over the last month from that because I was traveling in England for a month, actually. So wow. That was pretty cool. Following some of the other kind of football that they play over there for a little while. But diving back into my baseball work now, I host a podcast, Rest of Season Rankings podcast. We talk baseball. We update our rankings earlier on in the season, just about every week. Now it's maybe every 2 weeks, but we keep up with rest of season value. And I'm doing some football stuff as well over there. So it's good times.
You know, the rest of season ranks, it's a whole nother ballgame. I love the concept of the podcast. I just finished and released over on the In This League Patreon at inthisleague.com, my rest of season baseball ranks. And this was like my third or so update. And the changes you go through, and probably the biggest change, and I'll just throw this out to everybody, when I was going through all of them, and reminder, this isn't from the beginning of the season, I've done an update theoretically every single month, was the huge move I made for Michael Harris. I pushed Michael Harris up into an elite territory. I did it for my dynasty ranks as well. Very, very different. Oh, is my audio a little bit different today? Let's see. Oh, you know what? My audio is different. I'm going to change this up here in just a second. But Andrew, you know what? Talk about Michael Harris while I fix this.
Well, you picked a great subject. I love Michael Harris. I've been in on him since day one. In my home league, it's a keeper league where you can keep 6 players. And so the bar is pretty high for keeper value there. I jumped at the opportunity to add Michael Harris, bid $15 of my $100 fab. Nobody else bid $1 on him at the time. So I had a feeling. And the reason was, I don't know if you saw what Marquise Grissom said about Michael Harris before he got called up, but I've never seen anyone throw the amount of praise at a player that he did. And the main thing he said that stuck with me was he said, this kid is different, like mentally. He's ready for the prime time. He's not going to back down from the bright lights. And he compared him to guys like Barry Bonds and all sorts of insane pressure to put on a young kid coming up to the big leagues to a title contending team. But Michael Harris just got it done from day one in roto leagues, category leagues, especially with the stolen bases he brings to the table. He's like a true 5 category stud right away. And I love me some Michael Harris.
Microphone should be better now, right? For everybody. We hear that?
Yeah, you're a little quiet now, but I can still hear you.
Okay, yeah, I gotta see. That's the problem with you not knowing me. It makes it more difficult to catch that my audio is off. So I appreciate the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks catching. I will bring a little bit of audio back up if I possibly can here. So yeah, but Michael Harris was from a dynasty perspective probably the biggest move, and then even from a redraft perspective, when you look at some of the outfielders that have come back down. So if someone were to ask me like, hey, rest of season ranks, what would be the biggest change? I would have said Michael Harris. Immediately jumped in. Michael Harris was kind of my biggest change. We got a whole bunch to go through. Actually going to take a look at some of the waiver guys here in just a tiny bit. Bunch of waiver changes. We'll go through the home run contest, who had some bombs this weekend, which I'm going to give a little hint. Doesn't look like a lot. Does not look like a whole lot of homers were hit over the weekend. So the board does have a change, though. It does have a change. We have one defined leader, and we'll go through all that, bets, DFS, and stuff like that. But over the weekend, how about a headline news of Jacob deGrom? Jacob deGrom gave up only 2 runs in 5 2/3 of an inning on Sunday in a win over the Braves. Only gave up, I think, a lone 2-run homer to Dansby Swanson at the top of the 6th. He had 1 walk, but 12 strikeouts. Roto World had a nice little breakdown talking about how his slider had absolutely bonkers 18 whiffs on 20 swings, which is ridiculous. And he had maxed out at just under 102, which is now, by the way, 2 straight starts that he has hit that 102 marker on the fastball. The slider he is throwing higher on average than most are averaging their fastball, and the slider looks completely on point. Jacob deGrom is back to being the best pitcher in baseball. Rest of season rank, Andrew, this is fantastic to have you on. How did you approach, and how do you guys approach Jacob deGrom? Because I kind of fought with everybody because I'm a little more like, in like this. I'm like, I'd blind my eyes for Jacob deGrom, and I'm like, well, he's there. He's the best. Right before he came back, I ranked him at the tippy top level. But what say you?
Yeah, I mean, once it was clear he was coming back within a matter of a week or two, he was already inside my top 5 starting pitchers rest of season. But the real trick with the rest of season rankings was how to approach him a month ago, 2 months ago, when you knew he was going to be out a lot longer, but you also know just how good he can be. And with starting pitchers, in particular, they can make as big an impact in 2 months as a lot of players can in 4 months, 5 months. We've seen this time and again with deGrom and with guys like Kershaw in his prime. These guys that maybe they only throw 100 innings. In deGrom's case, it could be less, but the impact is still huge. And in our, at my site, we come at it from like a standard 12-team 5x5 kind of perspective.
That's
so
there.
I feel like you really want to shoot for upside. You want to stash guys who can make a real difference. So I had trouble ever moving deGrom outside of like my top 100 or so overall players, even when we knew he was going to be out for a couple more months. So now, yeah, he's definitely right at the top.
I put him in at 4. I've got him at 4 right now on my rank. And this was before that last start that he had. So 12 strikeouts, looks back in it. Max Scherzer or Jacob deGrom rest of season, Andrew?
Ooh, that's really tough. They're both so good. After seeing that, I think I have to give a slight edge to deGrom just because we've just seen, as great as Scherzer is, deGrom has been even better when healthy over the last couple of years. And it seems like he's completely healthy now. So I love Max Scherzer. He's one of my favorite players in the game. He's also an easy top 5 starting pitcher rest of the season for me, but I still give a slight edge to deGrom.
I give that too. Oh man, my internet. Hopefully my internet's not too wonky for everybody. This is becoming a good show this morning. Can you hear me out? Am I good?
Yeah, you're fine now. I hear you. Yeah, just a little choppy on the video, but you're good.
Okay, well, you guys don't need to see me that much. We can put a stock picture up here. Here's an interesting concept I want to throw out. So something funny happened before the show where I was looking at Roto World News and I saw a piece of news that I didn't read really quick and it hit my brain. And the news was George Valera getting a promotion. And if anybody knows me or follows me, knows that I love George Valera probably more than any other prospect, simply also because he is someone that I followed since before he even came over stateside. And I've interviewed him and I talked with him and I think he's going to be a great prospect. And of course, I didn't read the news correctly, and it was him going from a promotion from AA to AAA. But it brought up a concept that I've been thinking about and not really sure how to rationalize. Is how we've got top prospects in the game who are probably close to ready. George Valera would be one of them. Corbin Carroll, Gunnar Henderson. Yet people are always asking, "Hey, are they going to come up? Are they going to come up?" And I've kind of been at a loss because of one major point. Baseball is now giving an advantage for teams to have a prospect break with their roster opening day. Julio Rodriguez, the Mariners are going to get a first-round pick, a compensatory first-round pick now because of Julio Rodriguez. There's an advantage for teams like the Guardians, the Diamondbacks, and the Orioles to wait and bring these guys up. And that's a big speculative thing. We're going to talk about waivers here in a second, but everyone's always speculating on the next big prospect. When will Gunnar Henderson come up? But I don't know if these guys are going to come up because of the advantage the teams have. Do you think, Andrew, it's even worthwhile speculative adding some of the top players like Corbin Carroll and Gunnar Henderson because of this? Or do you think you would move completely away, assuming especially teams like the Orioles and Diamondbacks, they need everything they can do. There's no reason for them to bring up so they can take advantage of that new rule next year.
Yeah. I mean, again, I hate to hedge, but this is so format dependent. You know what I mean? Because like in a dynasty league, these guys have been rostered for like 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
In a redraft league, I don't know if they necessarily need to be picked up. And then in like a keeper league, it really comes down to the specific rules there. I think it's fine if you have a deep bench and you want to shoot for the moon and shoot for extreme upside. Like these guys present that, so like I never want to roster something that's the same thing that you can find 10 of on the waiver wire. So if I have some, fourth outfielder on my bench just wasting away and they're not special, sure, I'll take a shot on one of these guys knowing that there's probably a 1 in 10 chance or less that it actually pays off. I don't have a huge problem with that, but I do think generally speaking in redraft leagues, some of these hot prospects tend to be a little bit overrated.
And I think right now, what I would do for everybody else, the more that I've thought about this, is I do think there's an opportunity for it because I don't know the rule 100%, but I do believe as long as a guy hasn't lost prospect eligibility, that they would still qualify for this. I believe. If that's true, I could see guys like Gunnar and Corbin Carroll getting called up in September where they cannot lose their prospect eligibility and then could break roster. If it is about pure call up, then you shouldn't expect to see them either way. What I'm getting at, though, is the last week in August might be the time if you want to speculate for a run. The reason why those two, Corbin Carroll specifically, would be so interesting is because of hitting at the top of an order and stealing bases, which could be a league-winning thing for category leagues in Roto if you're trying to get those last-minute stolen bases. Gunnar would be a little bit tougher. I don't know if he'd run as aggressively or hit in the middle of a lineup right off the top, but Corbin Carroll would be one of those. But it had me thinking because of just how ridiculous. I mean, Andrew saw me. I was like, oh, George Laird's getting called up. And then as I did it, I was like, wait a minute, this is a AAA. I'm so dumb. And I was like, wow, why did they call him up from AA? And I had to go through that whole process, and my brain was frying here. Some injuries from the weekend. Anthony Rizzo missed the entire weekend with a back injury. Keep an eye on that. George Springer finally did hit the IL with an elbow injury, which is going to be good, probably short-term with Merrifield. We'll see what happens once Springer comes back. Ronald Acuna was a late scratch on Sunday with lower body soreness. They also lost Darno, who sat out Sunday with a leg injury after a collision on Saturday. Negatives were, x-rays were negative for a fracture. The positive fantasy boost would just continuously be William Contreras, who has been just such a stud. And if he gets full-time go, that would be great. Chris Morel out Sunday with a hamstring strain. Mickey Moniak out with a fractured finger. And Emilio Pagan out indefinitely. But who cared? Because Jorge Lopez came in and be the guy. Did you get hit at all by were you a big save speculator this year? Because Johan Duran and Emilio were like the classic, I'm not going to draft high closers, hold on to them, and then Jorge Lopez just completely takes that away from them.
No, see, I was on the opposite side. I had Jorge Lopez, and I was kind of sweating it a little bit because I also had Taylor Rogers, and I had a few closers that I was worried were going to be losing their jobs. And Jorge Lopez has been amazing this year, but I wasn't sure. I mean, the Twins are not a team that has typically just deployed a single closer, so I thought he would still get some chances. I wasn't sure though that he was going to be the guy. But as a Jorge Lopez manager, I'm sort of relieved by the usage that we've seen from him since they acquired him.
He's one of the scariest. I completely agree. He's the quintessential closer that loses their job at the trade deadline. Like him and Gregory Soto. I like those two. I was assured they were going to lose their jobs, and neither one did. They both get to keep it. One staying at home and one being traded, but in a fantastic destination and helping and improving their value, which actually brings us to a little transition of waivers. We usually haven't talked about a bunch of waivers on Mondays, but I thought this would be a good thing to do. And I picked out two guys, lots of different waiver stuff. So many people cover it really well. Over at In This League, we try to do a full look at all the different sites on Mondays when we do our Monday episode. My buddy Vlad Sedler from FTN, he'll do a sheet where he'll put out, and here's what my fab looks like. And fab and waivers are not all created equal because, unfortunately, I think a lot of the industry that talks about it is talking about it from a high stakes standpoint and talking about it from like an NFBC standpoint, which isn't necessarily always what everybody else is doing. But what it does do is it highlights players you should be taking a look at. And the number one player, I actually went and looked over at CBS's platform over the last 7 days that made a big change and was also on a lot of waiver claims if you were played in a waiver-based league, was Felix Bautista. When we talk about we talk about closer roles changing, or this is the addition by subtraction where he gets the role because they move out. He was 18% owned last week, 55% this. So on a CBS, that was a 37% change. In that time, he hasn't had a whole bunch, but he did, I think after the trade, he did give up a run on the third, but he picked up a save on the fifth. Hasn't jumped into games yet. I saw a lot of people making the move that Felix Bautista was one of the biggest beneficiaries on the trade deadline. If Felix Bautista is still out on the wire, is he an absolute must pick up in any format right now because of being a closer? Or do you think he belongs in that little run of pseudo closers that are not necessarily trustworthy? Like I could see in smaller leagues, like guys like Soto and him just be sitting around available and people being able to churn out closers. Hunter Strickland as well.
I mean, I think he's a bona fide stud as a closer. I really do. This is a guy who, if you look at his numbers, I mean, he's had over 12K per nine at every step of the minors. He's continued it in the majors. Very manageable walk rate this year at 2.96 walks per nine. I think the Orioles obviously have been a better team than people were expecting. So there's been more save opportunities for Jorge Lopez, and now those could be there for Bautista. And I just, it has to be a saves league, because this is the thing. If you're not counting saves, these relievers don't accumulate that many innings. So that makes them less interesting, perhaps. Although even in innings capped leagues, the ratios he can give you and the strikeouts he can give you can really help as well. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was like a top 10 closer in fantasy value the rest of the season.
I mean, that would actually be kind of shocking to me, outside of like the peripherals, more that it's just like Orioles picking up that many games for him to be able to lock down saves to be a top 10 guy, especially because we added Devin Williams to the mix. Like, Devin Williams was added into the crew, I think, an easy top 10 closer. Jorge Lopez, you could argue, could be in that territory now, because, Atlanta ate itself up. You lost Raisel Iglesias, who comes out of the top 10. You got a little bit of a question in Atlanta with Kenley Jansen and them. Jorge Lopez goes into a situation with like being on such a great offensive team, and now Pagan out. If they don't implement any type of rotation, Lopez could be a top 10. Batista's wouldn't be the underlining stats. It's not Edwin Diaz and a 17K per 9, but it's like a 13K per 9, manageable-ish walk rate and under 2 ERA. Like, those are really great numbers for a closer. I think the underlyings could be of a top 10 closer. For him to finish would be big, but either way, he's only 55% owned in CBS leagues, which is probably going to be relatively lower in others. We found if you play on like Yahoo and ESPN, you're probably going to find the percentages lower than ESPN leagues, and that might be something to look at. Two other guys on the young side, Miguel Vargas, who I think is just an absolute stud, top 10 prospect moving forward on my list, and he'll graduate off of it. He was 30% owned last week, up to 42% owned this week. Hasn't really popped off necessarily a whole bunch, but you see the low K rate, hasn't walked yet. Just a couple hits. He does have a stolen base. If he's given the run by the Dodgers, he is someone that you're going to want to hold on to. And then Bubba Thompson was a big one. That was a little bit more like late run for people, who weren't dealing in the trade deadline. Was only 1% owned, up to 8% owned on CBS. Got a couple stolen bases, but showing off some of his what's the word I'm looking for? His negatives as far as a hitter goes, as far as making contact and striking out, that he's a little bit more dicey, especially when like Cole Calhoun comes back. But if not, stolen bases, something you can always chase. Is this a stolen base time? Are you in a mode where you would want to sacrifice a little bit of consistency, maybe on a batting average, a little bit of homers, to speculate on a guy like Bubba Thompson for really could be like game-changing stolen bases rest of the way through? I think he stole like 40 stolen bases early on this season. Would you sacrifice a middle line outfielder to speculate on stolen bases with Bubba?
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I do think as we get later in the season and you see more of the managers in your leagues kind of dropping off and maybe moving their mind to football or something like that, it's going to be easier to find those stolen bases on the waiver wire. So you can kind of even wait and see maybe and see who's running. And if he, because sometimes these players pile up the steals in the minors and then they come up and they're kind of cautious about fitting in to the team ethos, and they don't want to make the wrong impression and get the red light. So sometimes they are a little more conservative on the base paths when they first come up. So you could probably play wait and see on that. But, generally speaking, yeah, I mean, this is the time of year where you might find, earlier in the year, we saw John Birdie do this, and we could see somebody else pull a John Birdie over these final 2 months and just like steal 20 bases, 25 bases between now and the end of the season. And he could be the guy.
A fun fact Wonky put on here: this day in baseball, 1877, the first recorded time that a catcher used a mask. I would love to see what that mask looks like in 1877. I want to say it's like just a cow's skull. They just put on the skull of a cow, and they're like, I don't know what that looks like, but I would give anything.
I'll tell you what I don't want to see. I don't want to see any photographs of the injuries the catchers suffered prior to wearing masks.
Can you imagine their fingers? Oh my God, their fingers are probably just messes.
And their noses, man. Their nose must have been broken in like 8 places every season.
Oh, and they just, dust it off, and they're just like, grab me a beer, like sarsaparilla. Like, it's just like, I can't even fathom here. Stat Heroes. Let's go over to Stat Heroes this weekend. Tristan McKenzie went 8, struck out 8, only giving up 2 hits, walking 1. Jesus Luzardo, 7, striking out 6 with only 1 hit. Tyler Anderson also went 7, struck out 3. Matt Manning, a rare positive performance, 7, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts. Corbin Burns, 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. Andrew, Jesus Luzardo Luzardo, one of the biggest upticks as far as velocity goes we saw from this season on the fastball, had more injury problems, but been consistent. Are you in a trustworthy place with Jesus Luzardo rest of season, or is he a streamable guy?
Trustworthy might be hard to say, but I'm definitely buying. Let's put it that way. I'll take my chances with him. Let's say that, because I was sort of buying into the breakout earlier in the year before things went off course for a month or two. But he's back now, and his CSW percentage is 31.9%. That would be top 5 among starting pitchers if he was qualified, if he had thrown enough innings to qualify. So he's got phenomenal stuff. This is also a team that seems to have a very strong track record of developing these young pitchers. So I'm going to, trust it a little more for that reason as well. So yeah, I really like the upside with Luzardo. I would certainly be buying into him right now.
Cody Bellinger, 3 for 3. This is not April Fool's. Went 3 for 3, 2 homers, 2 RBI in a game this weekend. Paul DeYoung had a homer. Nick Maton had a homer. Derek Hall with a bomb, some young Philly homers. Mike Yastrzemski had 2 homers. Arenado, 4 RBIs, going 3 for 4. MJ Melendez with a 6 RBI performance. Kyle Isbell on the 3s on the RBI. DJ LeMahieu with a homer. Andrew Vaughn, 3 for 5 homer, 2 RBIs, some good performances. I don't necessarily trust the Cody Bellinger, but always watch for it. It's not crazy to think that Bellinger can go off for a back end half performance part of the time. I always just say, like, even though the Dodgers are struggling, like in this last little recent, they just swept the Dodgers. I would pay hard attention to Bellinger on the back half, because this is what he does. He gets that month towards the end of whatever part of the season is, and then all of a sudden we're like, could we do Cody Bellinger again? Can we do that again? Like, I'm not going to do this again, because you can't just hit 220 the entire season and talk about, whatever physical changes he's trying to make or swing changes that consistently don't work in season. But it's not behind Cody Bellinger that he can't pull like a month together and really go. Which, I mean, you know what? Okay. Miguel Vargas or Cody Bellinger rest of season, Andrew?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, because I mean, we've seen it. I mean, that player exists in Cody Bellinger somewhere. It's just that it's the pure skills that he has, but it's the consistency that he lacks. Vargas is kind of the opposite. I mean, Vargas is kind of like Vinny Pasquantino type of profile from the minors, except with some speed built in too. So, I really like the profile for Vargas. I do think with these rookies, though, we do see 9 out of 10 times they kind of struggle and start slow. So I don't know, man. I think I have to slightly lean Bellinger, even though it's probably going to be gross. But if he ends up hitting like 8 homers and stealing 7 bases or something, like, it will still be reasonably valuable.
Only argument I could give you is if you play in a league that's just got some guys out there, like, because I play in a lot of leagues that got no guys. Like, they're deep. It's either like a deep benched league with 12, or it's a 16-team league. So the wire just sucks. There's nothing ever out there. But if there is stuff out there, what I would say is this, is if you can break your curse of Cody Bellinger and you can pick up a Miguel Vargas, and if he doesn't work out, you are now allowing yourself a better probability of picking up and just using that as a streaming spot. And I really do think if you look at the season total, you're better streaming Tyler Naquins of the world in the Vogelbachs and putting in other places over Cody Bellinger than you are just rostering him, even though Wonky brings up a good point. Dropped him everywhere in the last couple of weeks, so the hair should be right upon us. And I just
traded Andrew Vaughn, so that's why he just homered. So
okay,
same idea.
Continuously going. Over on the stat zeros, Corey Abbott, 7 earned runs, giving up 4 homers this weekend. No bueno. Frankie Montas, I told you my concern when he got traded would be how is he going to go with the long ball? How is he going to go with getting hit up? He got hit up, 6 earned runs and 3. Adam Wainwright, 6 earned runs. Tucker Davidson, 6 earned runs. On the hitters, we had a multitude of 4 strikeout guys. Jose Barrero, who, I went bonkers on the trade deadline. I'm like, guys, Spencer Steer, they just traded for Spencer Steer. He's got 20 homers. Look for him to play short and move Kyle Farmer. And the Reds just said, nope, we're going to move Kyle Farmer to third, like you said, but we're going to play Jose Barrero the rest of the year. 4 strikeouts, going 0 for 4. Billy Hamilton 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, and Zebby Zavala 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. So there you go. Also, Austin Riley, William Contreras, Michael Harris all struck out 3 times against the Mets. That dang old Jacob deGrom gets him again. Friendos, the home run leaderboard. I believe I got a Schwarber on Friday. I don't think I got any others on the weekend, but it didn't really matter. Look at that. We got a new number 1 or at least a new number one. I think High Cubby had been up there. Now in the solo lead with 39 homers, D Blum has 38. Mike Mayer is right there. I'm telling you guys right now, I can feel you giving it to him. I can just feel this is what you guys are going to do. You are going to give that home run leaderboard to Mayer. I feel it by the end of August. So please don't do that. Step up the game. And I don't know what I can do. I haven't stepped up the whole year. I'm somewhere in the late high 20s or something like that. So I'm just not in a competitive range where I think I can catch up with a bunch of you guys. But Night King of the North had Willie Adames. Go Cards had Jose Altuve to get up on the board. And we got a nice tight race of, eight guys, or some, sorry, 7 with 36 or more homers within 3 homers of each other. So it is a very, very tight race, friendos. Go and check out our guys over at BetMGM, betmgm.com. You can download the app, go to the website, and use our promo code, which is right under me, leading off. Use that promo code. You're going to get a $1,000 risk-free bet. That is pretty cool. And maybe you can put it on one of these bad boys. I put up 2 bets on 2 sides. 2 are the top total base and strikeout prop over at bettingpros.com. Their prop cheat sheet, super valuable. These are the top ones on there. If you want to go scour all of them, go check it out. And then I picked out 2 that I like. And Andrew, I'm going to give you all 4, and you tell me which one you like the best at the end. The 2 for the Betting Pros cheat sheet, number 1 bet of the day, as far as our algorithm goes, is Aaron Judge on the total base front versus Seattle. It's a little juiced, minus 127, but 1.5 over. I believe that is on Unibet, so you're going to see it something similar everywhere else. It's a number 1, not only total base bet, but the number 1 strikeout bet is Justin Dunn, who is getting called up by the Reds, formerly the Mariners, and his strikeout prop is only 3.5. So I think that's why they like it. Their algorithm has him at just under 5, and it's plus money at 125. So those are the Betting Pros ones. The 2 that I picked out today, Wilson Contreras, who I like, total bases, I'm getting plus money at 125 for 2 total bases. And I created a little parlay here because I don't like a lot of the strikeout props today, and a lot of them are juiced. So I put this together. Pair Blake Snell strikeouts under, which is 7.5. So I got to be under 8. And Keegan Thompson strikeouts over 3.5 at 4. So those are the 2 you would pair together. You get really good, probably plus 250 money. So you've got Aaron Judge total bases, Dunn strikeouts, Contreras total bases, or my strikeout prop, Andrew. What do you like?
Oh, man. Well, I really like the way Blake Snell has been pitching lately with the strikeouts. So I don't think I can take that one.
You don't like mine. Okay.
Yeah, don't think I can take that one. I mean, it's always easy to say Aaron Judge for anything, right? You can pick any number. Wait, he's facing Logan Gilbert, right?
And it's the only non-plus money one on here. So
yeah. So I don't know about that one either. Justin Dunn, maybe that's the way to go. What'd you say the number was on that?
It's only 4 strikeouts. Is that 3.5? 3.5, and it's
so low. Yeah, I mean, I guess the only question is how many innings does he throw, right? Because I mean, this is his first start of the season, so it's hard to know. But I mean, yeah, I'll go with that one. That's such a low number.
And I like this by Wonky. The best home run bet was Joe got none this weekend, which I completely agree with Wonky. Just quick on the DFS, just a couple things to throw out to you guys. As far as pitchers go, DK, you got Bassett at 9.3. Keegan Thompson is 6.7. I sneaky like that one. Maybe pair Bassett with, Keegan Thompson with a Chris Bassett at like 9.3. Over on FanDuel, or Zach Gallen. I think I meant to copy Zach Gallen on here. Gallen and Thompson, I think, would be sneaky to pay up on hitters. Bassett is 10.4 on FanDuel, 9.6 for Gallen on FanDuel as well. And if you want to stack, there's only 2 teams with implied run totals over 5 today. It's Toronto and the Mets. But I also kind of like the Cubs, as I've been picking on Keegan Thompson as someone I dig. That leaves us to the very end here, the home run contest. Andrew, this is the first time on. Our guests actually did pretty good last week. I think we had 3 homer calls through the week, so got to give a hat tip to them. Maybe it was only 2 for them, and I had 3 last week. This was my best week I think I had was last week. So 1 homer to win it all. Andrew, who do you got for today?
Well, I know I was just saying some nice things about Justin Dunn, but I'm going to pick on Justin Dunn. I'm going to go with Pete Alonso. I just think he's been hitting really well. He's on a tear lately. He's got 29 bombs on the season. Like I said, Dunn making his first start of the year. It just seems like a plum opportunity for Pete Alonso to go yard.
I'm going to go with a little BVP action. 3-homer lifetime. Matt Chapman has got on Jordan Lyles, where he's got an over 940 slug, an over 350 batting average, a bunch of doubles, or 1 double, but 3 homers. It's the most homers versus anybody. He's been heating it up a little bit, and I like that one. So I'm going to just play easy one, not a big name. I'm going to go with Matt Chapman for the day, and I don't see any of the other home run calls. I don't see Wonky with a new one or Mayer. So go and check out on the app. You guys can get in. I think it's one of the premium things for Fantasy Pros. You can get in on the Discord. You can get into all the AMAs, the chats, and you can partake in the home run contest, maybe make a little late run, maybe make some noise at the very end, and you can get a whole bunch of homers. Probably not going to win it unless you go perfect through the rest of the year. If you go perfect every single day you call a homer, you have a chance to win this. But that's how you get and take part in all of this fun stuff. Andrew, we did it. That was the first episode. Andrew's going to be with me, I think, every Monday through the rest of the season, and even on a couple Thursdays we'll be able to rock all of this stuff again. Give a plug again, Twitter handle, and the podcast. But also, I don't remember, did you have any new articles coming up baseball over on Fantasy Pros, or is it football side now?
I'm going to be jumping right back into the waiver wire. So I'm going to be writing the Fantasy Pros waiver wire article every Saturday. It will come up every Saturday morning. So keep an eye out for that. Twitter at Andrew_Seifter. And then just hammering away at my own site. It's rosrankings.com and the rest of season rankings podcast, which, like I said, we're focusing on rest of season value, but we're also doing some football stuff there as well. It's up on Apple and Spotify, so give it a listen.
Do it. Friends, this is what I want to do. My brain, did you guys see my brain just fry again earlier today? This is what we need to do. We need to start having a counter, and it's like a perfect game. Don't call it if I'm having a perfect game, but let's see if I can not have big jumble. Like last week, Andrew, my brain completely fried like on Thursday and Friday. I called Mayor Nate, and I kind of had a fry here. I'm known to like create fake words and stuff like that, but I think I want the chat to rock in here. Let's see if I can get some perfect games, some no-hitters, some perfect games. You guys decide. Maybe, I have a little jumble of a word. I gave up a hit. If I completely brain fart and call somebody something wrong, I just gave up a homer. Let's get me some lines. Let's start lining the show every single day. Let's see how I can pull out the rest of the week, starting from right now. No, Donnie, we're not going to do it a drinking game. It is way too early in the morning, but let's see. I need to have a perfect game tomorrow. I'm hoping to put that together. I need to get my brain back fried and do it good for you guys, and maybe be on the right mic, not at internet issues, all that stuff. All right, friends, I am Chris Welsh. Find me on Twitter. Is it the Welsh? Actually going to be over on our In This League Twitch here in about a half an hour if you guys want to hang out, doing a little bit of football action. We also have a bunch of other fun stuff. Twitch.tv/InThisLeague. You want to check out all my other ranks, inthisleague.com on the Patreon for prospects for rest of season. That is it, though. It's leading off. We'll be back again tomorrow. Peanuts, Cracker Jacks, we love you. It's Andrew Welsh. We're out of here.